Good evening. I am Amadina Berry. Now, women are now showing more interest in taking over the reins of affairs come 2023 from the current administrations. So far, we've seen multiple declarations across board. Tonight, we shine a light on one of the presidential hopefuls who has a plan to focus on 3 areas if she comes into power. Tari Oba-Oliver joins me to speak on our ambition, the quest for women in politics, the state of the nation, and the way forward on the road to 2023. Madam Tari Oba-Oliver, welcome to Top Talk.
Thank you.
Right now, let's start with getting to know you, because one of the duties we have as journalists is to shine a light on everyone who has plans to run or take over from the current administration and be the president. So that being said, let's start with what about your past and everything about it? What about it do you think has prepared you for this position?
I've been a volunteer all my life. I actually tell people that I've never been jobless in Nigeria because there's always something to do. But the issue there is that most times there's no money to be paid. So if I see that there's a gap somewhere and I have value to add, I go for it. So all of my life I've volunteered under various organizations. When it comes to human trafficking, there was a time I was the South-South coordinator for VACAT, Volunteers Against Human Trafficking, human trafficking, and child prostitution and all of that. Then even at in my church level, I also volunteered under prison ministries, hospital ministries, and personally I have a foundation, the Tari Oba Foundation, that is focused on the education of the girl child. Because when I started volunteering, trying to get girls out of the streets, people were into prostitution and all of that, because a lot of them were trafficked to Lagos with the belief that they were coming for greener pastures, but they got to Lagos and things turned out the other way. So there was a community I was living, and I discovered that almost every young girl in that community was into prostitution. So I tried to reach out to organizations, churches, mosques, to say, come on, these children are giving birth to children. They are not in school. The children are not in school. So it's like a child becoming a mother. So we tried to see how we could set up schools and all of that, but it really didn't work because they kept telling me, this is government. This is the job of government. I said, okay, fine. So if it is the job of government, then I have to get into government to see that things are put right and every child is in school. So that was one of my driving forces.
Okay, that's fair. Before I go into more questions about your aspirations specifically, I want to know what, like you said, you got that pushback that this is the government's work. Now, while delving into politics, what are the challenges you face? And I mean this in terms of what women generally face and what you faced and how you think that this can be fixed. Okay,
so I got in politics at a very early age of 18. Yeah, those days, we started from those days, Aluta days in Uniben. And I actually started Aluta from 16, So we're going there. By the time 2023 election was approaching, we had to get into the party structure and all of that. So I basically grew up in the party. Yes, I've been in the party for 19 years. So it's not something I don't see the challenges different from life itself.
Really?
Okay, yeah, because a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians have this belief that for you to be a politician, you must have killed a lot of people, you must have done a lot of dirty things and all of that. It's nothing like that, really. It depends on who you are. It depends on whose child you are. Like my dad, I started going out with my dad right from age 7 to attend leadership meetings and all of that. He was a high chief, and I was like his baby girl, So I got to understand people's personal integrity. My father would not do anything that he's not convinced about. So it's not about what other people are doing. It's about what do you want to do. So you can be in politics and you can get into shady stuff. You can still be in politics and still keep your path. So for me, there's not been any different challenge, because people will say sexual harassment. But this sexual harassment happens everywhere. There are people, when I was volunteering with the force, I had the boss, and It was just transferred in, and he said, "Oh, fine woman, I like you." And I said, "I'm married." Then he said, "A fine woman, not the only one woman get her." I said, "You go sleep, you no go wake up." And from that day, he stopped talking to me, actually. So people will make advances at you, whether you're in politics or not. But initially, when I joined, I love skimpy stuff. I just like to be me. I was young, So what elderly woman called me and said, "You are in politics. When you're going for meetings, try to dress appropriately." I said, "No, a man that is an abuser, it's not about what you wear. An abuser is an abuser." But he said, "Men are moved by sight. It is what they see, they react to." So sometimes you may dress just because you want to dress and be you. They may interpret it as, "I am available." So that was when I started changing my dress patterns and all of that. And I don't think I've faced any sort of sexual harassment. No.
Oh, all right. That's interesting. Right now, let's move now into your plans. From what we've seen, when you made your or when you got to form
and declaration,
yes. Declaration, you highlighted 3 areas: security, electricity, and technology.
Yes.
Now, can you elaborate on that and why these aspects specifically?
Okay, so I focused on security, electricity, and technology because I kind of for a long time I love research, I love data, and from the statistics, from the data available, you realize that security is the major problem in Nigeria right now. Even as I was talking about it that day, while I was declaring, I didn't know that the train was being attacked and 970 lives were at stake. So, and the first responsibility, the major, most critical, because even at the beginning of the Constitution, it is written there. It is the security of lives and properties that is the primary aim of government, because this power was actually with the people, but they voluntarily gave it out to the authority. Okay, so it is the authority that would not protect them. And that was why I decided that I would focus on security, because there are different areas of insecurity right now. We have from lack of education, that's out of school children, and the statistics is that 2/3 of the world's out of school children, they are here in Nigeria. That is 1 out of every 5 child that is out of school is a Nigerian. That is over 10-point-something million Nigerian children are out of school. And the data is scary, because this is what breeds insecurity. And if we do not focus on education, we cannot turn whatever is happening now, because the children become soft targets, easy to recruit. Then you talk about poverty. When there's poverty, then there's insecurity, because people are looking for survivor. Then you talk about food security. Right now, there is to even eat now in this country is an issue. And we are dealing with all of this. We are forgetting about our external security. So we can be vulnerable at any time if all we do is focus on internal security. So we are going to focus on internal and external security. We're going to focus on terrorism, banditry, the farmers and herdsmen crisis. It's the major reason why we don't have food today, because farmers cannot go to the farm. Okay? So, and you look at all of these issues, from sea piracy into data piracy, cyber security, everything is a problem right now. So my strategy is the United States of Nigeria, because if you look back at when we fought Ebola and even COVID, what did we do? We locked down our borders. So what it means is that if we lock down our borders, we'll be able to map where this thing is happening, and someone will be held responsible. But right now, nobody is taking responsibility. The governors can easily say they don't have the power. The president can say he was not aware. But if the governors are given the power to map out within that terrains, they can fight insecurity, and that's the truth. And the government is so scared of devolution of power, where that is the solution of this country's problem. It doesn't matter how many years it takes us to realize. Now, if you are so scared of devolution of power, you are so scared that the governors will have too much power. But non-state actors are actually, right now, dragging this power with you. So what do you have to say to that? So in fighting terrorism, in fighting banditry, there are 5 blocks. But right now, the government is focusing only on one block, which is the people on the field. What about the people funding? What about those informants? What about those that are saboteurs in the security structures right now? And what about those that are in government, that are backing them? So until you look at these critical areas and do something about it, nothing is going to happen. So my policy is I'm not going to negotiate with any bandit, any terrorist, because whatever the situation is, everybody is facing it. So why is everyone not taking up arms? It is a lucrative business right now because government is encouraging them by negotiating with them. And we have a lot of governors that will come and tell you that they have repented. If they have repented, we will put them in government house. If they are able to stay with you in that government house for 1 week and nothing happens to your government, then we can bring them out and put in the society. But anything short of that would not work. So governors, we have the power and they will be held accountable. Thank you.
That's very fair. You know, one thing we try to do is we try to get specifics from anyone who's aspiring for office. Now, I'm going to use a scenario of what's happening right now. Take, for instance, the issue with the Abuja-Kaduna rail and all that. If you were in power, what would you do differently? In terms of security, what are the exact things that you would do that you would forestall these attacks?
Well, the truth is that when it comes to security, you don't divulge all information. I cannot give out everything now because I want to convince people. But I want to assure Nigerians that the security of every life would be important. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be proactive about security. Apart from the children and vulnerable women that we know that we have to protect, every other person has to be on the field. This is a war for everyone to be on the field. And we are going to provide food. So the first 3 months, I have different strategies mapped out. Because right now, if you're saying that you want to increase the number of personnel, we have only 300,000 police officers right now for 200 million citizens. How does that work? So we need volunteers because readily there's no money to pay. So are you going to support your country? Are you going to stand for your country? So the monies that we will use to run the government for the first 3 months, nobody's going to be on pay. We are all going to volunteer. No extra expenses, no unnecessary expenses. That money will be used to pay for the what do you call it now? When you bring in goods, when anything that has to do with importation of food is going to be free. Government is going to subsidize and pay for all of those charges. So if you're bringing in food, anything food item into Nigeria, for the next 3 months, it's going to be free. So we can bring down the rate of inflation. Why government supports that from government coffers? Because Nigerians have been paying too much. Nigerians are always the one advised to stand and suffer for the government. Now it's time for government to suffer for the people. So once we have food banks in almost every community, then the men can come out and support that nation while the women stay back with the children and we focus on education. So that is going to be like an interim plan while we work on all those strategies. But I would only submit or bring this thought pattern if there's a superior argument. But this is what I really want to do. All
right. Now on the other two areas, especially technology, what's your plan in terms of that? Okay, so the technology is that sector that will drive every other sector. There's nothing you can do now without tech. In terms of security, in terms of resources, in terms of growing the economy. And right now, when we say we have to create jobs, it's tech. The world has moved. The 10 richest men in the world, they're into tech. Nobody is selling oil. There's nobody that is rich that is selling oil. It is only Nigeria that decided to sell oil. So if we must diversify into other sectors, it must be tech-driven. And even the security we are talking about, we have to sync our data. You have your name, you have your PIN, you have your BVN, you just have everything scattered all over. We're going to sync this data and focus on every citizen having a data system. We are going to have a data system that we can account for our citizens. You really cannot plan for people you don't know. Right now, you don't know how many people are living at where or where. So we must have a data system at state basis, then at the center, then we sync everything together. And that's why I'm so focused on states, because from the center it's just so big, you can't do anything. But if it's focused on each state
And when I'm talking about states, I'm talking about states of residence, not state of origin. Because the state of origin policy we are running doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't matter the sentiments about it. If you need education, you're going to be educated in the state where you reside. If you need to access healthcare, you're going to access healthcare in the state where you reside. And if it is security, it's the same place where you reside. You will not go back to your place of birth or your state of origin or where your great-grandfather comes from. So when we have that sort of system, every Nigerian can feel committed into adding value to where they stay. But right now, people don't feel that sort of commitment because you get into another state, they say you are a non-indigent. Why does that happen in every other part of the world except Nigeria? And you are looking for Nigerians to be patriotic. You are looking for Nigerians to serve the land. No, nobody is going to give you that sort of service if you do not show that you have a system of government that accepts everybody the way they are. And the only way to build trust, because people have lost trust in government, the only way the federal government can build trust is the devolution of power to the state governors.
So it seems as though restructuring is a part of...
I don't want to use that word restructuring because that word itself has been hijacked. There are lots of people that do not know anything about restructuring, but they tell you they are not interested because someone has hijacked the word to let them know that restructuring is not to your benefit. But if the resources of a state cannot be annexed by those indigenes or the state government, how would the center do that? This is 774 local governments. How would you from Abuja access resources in 774 local government? And if you do not begin processing the resources in your land, you cannot create jobs. So how do we marry all of this together if we do not, run a state-based policy? I don't want to use restructuring.
All right, that's fair. Now, something that I'm sure is of concern to Nigerians, you talked a little bit on how importation would be helped by the government. Now let's move over to the economy generally.
Yeah.
I'll pick one specific aspect and then maybe you can expatiate if you feel. The issue of fuel subsidy and the way it seems to draw from the government. It seems like government is almost handicapped and they are spending way more than they even do in some other key areas, just paying that subsidy. Now, what's your plan to resolve this, especially because, as we've seen now, the current administration has pushed removal of subsidy almost similarly to the next administration, which means whoever takes that position is going to have to do that, probably have to take that step that a lot of Nigerians might not like. How do you plan on resolving this and the issues of inflation and all that?
When it comes to fuel, for instance, it's like you left the express road and you started following the bush path. What will happen to you? Will you get anywhere? You definitely will not get anywhere. We have a structure for modular refineries. You have oil in your land. Why can't you have smaller refineries, modular refineries? Yes, they call them coal fire, but these boys are busy cooking foil. If they are cooking foil and are selling the foil, that means if you empower them to structure it in a decent manner, where it fits into the regulations, where it does not cause any harm to the environment, and it is structured and well organized, they can produce for the country. That is the truth. That is what they've proven, that they can do it. So why is government not allowing that to take place? Because see, you cannot fight the people. You cannot have systems that fight the people because you will not progress, the people will not progress. Right now, from the last report I got, it was government lost about over $200 billion to oil theft. So if you lost such amount of money and you did not die, what it means is that if you give it out legitimately, it can serve the country, it can give back tax to the to the government, and it can create jobs in the communities. So the way to go is modular refineries, which can serve our critical foil consumption issue in the country and still solve even exports where we have something like Dangote refineries for the exports. So it's just because we do not want to do the right thing. That is why we are going back and forth with subsidy and no subsidy, because people are benefiting from that sort of transaction and the masses are not benefiting from this. So let us go on whatever model I'm going to apply is just to sustain until we have modular refineries that we kick off with the speed of light. It doesn't matter the capacity, just produce something, provided it meets up with the world standard of safety and environmental safety. That's it for me.
All right, it's good to hear your plans and your thoughts on governance. Well, now let's talk a little bit about politics.
Okay.
Now, you already mentioned you've been in the PDP
19 years.
19 years. Now, why the PDP? In terms of your declaration, you are declaring with the main opposition party. Now, there is a sentiment by some that the PDP, started the problems of the country and that they are one and the same with the current administration who you would want to take over from. How do you respond to these sentiments that, the PDP is tainted, and why did you go along with them?
Let me tell you, there are some people are so sentimental to the point that they will tell you Mongo Park was a PDP member. Yes. They will look for all of the names. But yet, when they see these people one-on-one, they go and double it. So what I always tell people that tell me this is, okay, if you know someone that is a criminal, then you think that person is in PDP, why don't you call the person by the name? I've been a member of PDP for 19 years and I'm not a thief. So the party does not encourage anybody to steal. There's no class, there's no session that they take and they give you lectures on corruption, on how to be corrupt or how to steal. There's nothing like that. I, as a person, I do not go bothering people to give me contracts and stuff like that, because this is what people do. You go and bother people for opportunities that you know that are not legitimate, and you come back when they start catching them and accusing them of theft, and you go and hide behind, and you don't come and say, I'm the beneficiary. If they start tracing the monies of some people that have been into corruption, you find out that it's even some of the people that are criticizing them, the money is in their hands. So, as for me, I know that politics is local. There is no, except you are just dreaming. But if it's to be very practical, you need to have a grassroots base. In the entire 36 states, in the entire 774 local government, and all the thousands of polling units. And how are you going to do that as an individual? And when the people say PDP and APC are the same, I laugh. It's just APC members that do not want to own up to the fact that their party has failed, that are coming with this excuse of they are both the same. They are not both the same. Today, I love Nigeria. I'm so into every aspect of Nigeria because of PDP, because I grew up in the party. I can easily call someone in Katsina and say, come on, I need something, and you get it. It's almost like you have a family across every state. So that unity is there. But you can see this party that is in power, the embers of disunity has just been found so much that Nigerians now feel that the people from the north and the people from the south are not one. Come on. I started doing a gold business when I was in school, and I would go all the way from Benin to Kano. We enter Big Joe those days. You get to Kano, you pay 2,500, you book into the hotel, sleep, in the morning, you buy your stuff. And when you get back to Benin, because there was no phone at that time, when you get back to Benin and you sell, because we sell for 3 months, every month when students get stipends, they pay. At the end of 3 months, you have money to go back to the market. Do you know that if there's anything you did not sell, I'll take it back to Kano, my customers will take it from me and change it to something modern, So there was this, that was my first interaction with people from the north. And you see, there's nothing that can change that. It's just so embarrassing that Nigerian men folded their hands and allowed foreigners to come in, rape their women, rape their children, spoil their land, and they're just sitting there doing nothing. That's why I said it's enough. They should go. Enough is enough.
All right, so you already touched a little on the performance of the APC, but I really like to get your general thoughts. The administration you want to replace, what is it that they are doing that
for me, I don't see anything that they've done. No. Honestly, quite honestly. And I'm even further shocked that they are still preparing to present a candidate. I was thinking that they will apologize to Nigerians and shut down the party. But you can see they are still holding conventions, trying to prepare candidates. For what? You came in and said the PDP was bad, that the PDP was this and that. Okay, Nigerians voted for you and you became even worse. Even as something as ordinary as protests cannot even happen again. But this was what they used in coming into power. So anybody that is saying that the PDP and the APC are the same, the person is not being fair to themselves, let alone the entire Nigerians. There's nothing about this government that I agree with. Nothing.
Right. So now what are your thoughts on, still on party politics now, what are your thoughts on zoning?
Okay, see, when it comes to zoning, yes, the Constitution talks about zoning. It says that nobody from a particular ethnic group or state should be in charge of power. It should go around the states, the different states. And that is where a lot of people stand. In as much as I am focused on leaders with capacity, consistency, courage, what are you bringing to the table? What are your policies? Because on the long run, these are the things that will speak. It's not about where the person comes from. But the Constitution stipulates zoning. So are you going to wish that?
You mean?
No. In the Nigerian Constitution, I'm not even talking about party now. The Nigerian Constitution talks about zoning. And that's why it states that the power must go round. It should not be held by a certain group of people. Honestly. But if you ask me, there's not been zoning in this country. Because the men have been in power for 61 years. And I do not see any difference between the men from the north or the men from the south. They're all men. So if they've been in power for 61 years, they should begin zoning now and zone to the women.
That's fair. That's interesting.
Yes.
Now, just to know, how, from your point of view, how do you see it? The people you have to battle or you have to contend with to even leave the primaries. You have Governor Wike, you have former Governor Peter Obi, you have Senator Saraki, you have Vice President Atiku, former Vice President Atiku. So all these people, how do you see, contending with them? I'm
hoping that the party will open a conversation for us to discuss about our policies. So let us see whose policy is superior. So it is on the basis of that I'll be scared. But right now I'm not scared. I'm not even worried about that.
All right, that's fair. Now, moving on. Taking current issues into account, many suggest that Nigerians get their PVCs and change the government that is not doing well and bring in a better government. Now, right now this is March 31st. We're still about a year and probably some months till that time where a new government will take place, whether it's a government that is of a different party or the same party. But
no, God forbid, not the same party.
But still, there's about a year. Now, what do you say to Nigerians? What can they do in the interim? Because the problem now is a lot of Nigerians start to feel powerless, and even when you say, okay, the power is with your PVC, they have to wait. So, for instance, you voted, you made a mistake, or what you thought you were getting is not what you got. So you wait the 4 years. What do you say to Nigerians that before that time, what can they do? What options are available to them?
What are the options available? I would not encourage anyone to take to the streets to protest. I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, but protest is legal.
Yes, it's legal, but we know what the end result of EndSARS. It breaks my heart up to today that people had to die. So I am not going to, under a normal government, you can protest. But you can see that there's a state of anarchy right now. You can see that the government is in power is against the people. The government in power do not want the people to exercise that human rights. You can see that it's glaring. I don't have to say it. So I'm not going to be able to advise anyone to go out there and protest, But we can use the social media platforms to express ourselves to say we are not comfortable with what is happening. We can go about advocating. We can talk to people, and we can also do personal security. Okay, put your ears down and find out for yourself, because now it's all man to yourself. There's just a lot of attacks waiting to happen. We don't have to wait. We don't have to be the victims. There's almost nothing individuals can do rather than appeal to the government in power to please stop what is happening. The government has the power to do it. And if they do not have the power to do it, it's easy. Resign. People don't have to wait and die until 2023. If you are overwhelmed, resign. It's simple. Just resign and leave honorably. It's that simple. People don't have to die anymore. Nobody has to die. Nobody.
All right, now, speaking about your chances and also the chances of the PDP, I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've run for another post before. And at the end of the whole matter, you had allegations of vote buying and voter intimidation and all that. Now, why would it be different this time around?
INEC has worked on a lot of things. The issues that we faced then and now, they're not going to be the same. The electronic transmission of results and all of that is going to make everything different. And even all of those cards, non-valid cards that they bring into it's not going to work this time around. So Nigerians should be confident that this time around, that votes are going to count. And it's about, and when you come to vote buying, how much is your vote worth? If you want to sell your vote, ask for something like from 200,000, 500,000 upwards. If you take 2,000, then you're the most foolish person on this planet.
Do you think it's worth 200,000, Joe?
No, it's not worth that, but at least take something from that upwards. So if any politician can pay you from 200,000 upwards, then sell. But if it's 2,000, if it's 5,000, if it's 10,000, then it is you that has a problem, not them.
That's interesting. All right, now, just to round up the program now, what are your final words to Nigerians? What should they expect from you and your government should it come into power? And basically, what sense of hope could they have knowing that you could be their next president?
They should understand that I'm one of them. I'm just the girl next door. There is no form of challenge that anybody is facing now that I've not faced. And they should understand that it is only those who dare to dream that will achieve. They should not look at the difficulties. They should not look at the challenges. They should see opportunity. They should just believe in me and support me. I need all the support I can get right now. And we're going to have the country of our dream, because I've always believed in the ballot revolution. This is the time for the ballot revolution.
All right, Madam Tari Oba-Oliver, thanks for coming on Top Talk.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.